to be encouraging you to do today really is to think about what some of your stories are as well, where those moments where you've really truly embraced and accessed that particular mindset. And for me, one of the things that I've enjoyed doing over the last few years has been running ultra marathons. And there's one actually that's not too far from here called Endure 24, Wasing Park. Anybody familiar with Wasing Parks? Berkshire. Endure 24, anybody done or been to Endure before? No?
No,
yes.
George,
Oh, no, we've got some lunatic in the room. It's complete bonkers, yes. Therapy. Yeah, well, this is the thing. Let me tell you what it is. It's 24 hours. It starts at midday on a Saturday, finishes at midday on a Sunday, and you run usually in a team, but you run around this 5-mile beautiful forest loop as many times as you can in 24 hours. Right, so you're literally running around in circles, which I'm sure is the definition of madness, right? And as you said, people pay for the pleasure of doing this, and there's even a waiting list to do this as well. So you can do it in a team, you can do it in pairs, or you can do it as a solo, and that's what I found myself doing a few years ago. And I had this goal of running 20 laps or 100 miles in 24 hours. And there's lots of stories and things that came up for me during that time, but there was a particular moment about 65 miles in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I've been running for about 15 hours. So when I say running, it's a lot of walking. There's a lot of eating as well, by the way. Ultra running is basically a big picnic with a bit of running in between courses. It's great fun. That's the reason why people do it. There's cake involved. So I was about 65 miles in and 15 hours in. And I was sitting down in a chair, because you get a little athlete station where you can just sit down and get some supplies and rest and whatnot. And that was my first mistake, sitting down. Right? 3 o'clock in the morning, every fibre of my being was saying, George, you should be asleep right now. And I could see my tent as well, so I was really slowly quitting at that point. So I was convincing myself. They say that negative voice is quite critical, quite judgmental. This was a very compassionate inner voice I had at that moment, telling me it's okay. You've just run 65 miles, that's absolutely fine. You can go home, absolutely certain that you've done a great job there. So I was in that process of quitting. And the reason why I felt like that was because I was thinking to myself, my goodness, if I want to achieve this goal, I still have 35 miles left to run. And it was just an overwhelming feeling of how on earth am I ever going to do that? And so I was tending towards the quitting and the bed option. And then there was a moment while I was sitting in that chair feeling like pretty much at my lowest ebb in the entire event. And I realized actually I didn't have to run 35 miles in order to complete that goal. I realized that actually all I had to do next was to get out of the chair. Now, that's all I needed to do. I just had to get up out of the chair that I was in. Because I knew that if I got out of the chair, I'd get out of that athlete station. And if I got out of that athlete station, I'd get up that first hill. And I'd run that first mile. And the second mile. And eventually I'd get back to the same point and I'd go again. But I didn't have to think about the entirety, the big picture. And sometimes with the goals that we set ourselves, and this is why I love this as a message for myself, and I share it with others, but it's really a message for myself, that mindset of, like, what's the next thing that you need to do?